Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahid Abbasi has accepted Law Minister Zahid Hamid's resignation. Hamid tendered his resignation following the deadly clashes across the country between police and protesters belonging to hardline religious groups. Zahid Hamid presented his resignation to Prime Minister Shahid Abbasi to bring the country, quote-unquote, out of a state of crisis. The resignation came as part of an agreement reached between the government and the protesters overnight. The deal came after a 2-day face-off in Islamabad and other parts of the country between protesters and security forces that saw at least 6 people killed and hundreds injured. The protesters had held a sit-in in the capital Islamabad for about 3 weeks, demanding removal of Hamid for changes in a law related to prophethood oath in the Elections Act 2017. They alleged that the action undermined Islamic beliefs and linked it to blasphemy. Earlier, leader of the Islamist group Tehreek-e-Labbaik Ya Rasool Allah vowed to escalate the protests unless their demands are met.
जो पूरे मुल्क में धरने हो रहे हैं या इhtजाज है, इस पर भी अभी खत्म करने का कोई फैसला नहीं है। अगर मुज़ाकरात हमारे कामयाब होते हैं, हमारे मुतालबात पर अमल दरामद होता है, उसके बाद जो है हम देखेंगे। धरने के बारे में भी फैसला होगा, कतई धरना खत्म नहीं होगा और जो पूरे मुल्क में इhtजाज है वो भी खत्म नहीं होगा किसी भी मुकाम पर।
Meanwhile, educational institutions in Islamabad and Rawalpindi have been ordered to remain closed today in view of the protests. Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa has called on the country's Prime Minister to handle the protests peacefully. More than 8,000 security personnel were deployed to clear the Faizabad interchange of protesters. The demonstrators had been camping at the Faizabad intersection in Islamabad for the past 3 weeks, demanding resignation of the country's law minister, accusing him of blasphemy. Meanwhile, fresh reports suggest that restrictions on social media sites, including Facebook and Twitter, have been withdrawn. Joining me on the broadcast is WION's Islamabad Bureau Chief Taha Siddiqui. Taha, is this a temporary reprieve or can we see more trouble on the same issue in the days ahead?
Well, for now, from what we understand, basically the protesters have agreed to disperse, and they've been given 12 hours of time since today morning. So by tonight, from what we understand, the roads will be cleared. And basically, this comes in the wake of the resignation of the law minister, and there are other 6 of their other demands that have been met. Which they have been saying for a while now, and the military brokered this particular deal. So for now, we're seeing that already. So, like for example, one of their demands was to let go of the people who had been arrested in the protest, and they have been. Now we're getting reports from the police that they are being released. So by tonight, it is expected that Islamabad will return to normalcy.
Right. And also, Taha, doesn't it seem that religious fundamentalist groups in Pakistan are apparently having a field day? It seems as if the government has buckled under pressure. They've claimed that it was just a clerical error and they had fixed it, and that error has led to such a furor. Do you think these religious fundamentalist groups are in a position where they can influence the government in a way they want to?
I mean, from what we can learn from this whole episode is that very thing that, basically the kind of power that non-state actors have over the state. And the very fact that the Pakistani, military brokered the deal, and they were the ones who were able to sort of, manage both sides, the government and the Pakistan army and the protesters. That just goes to show that how there are, some analysts believe that there are suggested, some have suggested that there might be a possibility of the Pakistan army behind orchestrating this, and that particular aspect also also shows in this, because we've seen in the past that, using religious extremist groups or political proxies, the government has been put under pressure to get its demands, being listened to, and gets its demand being responded to. So in that sense, we're seeing that the civilian government lost its legitimacy, lost its standing,
right,
while the gainers of this whole episode were the Pakistan Army now, which everybody is saying should be thanked for brokering a peace deal between the two sides.
Right. We'll leave it at that for the moment. Taha, thank you so much for joining us with that.